The Grand Historian. Sima Qian and the Shiji. In the grand history of China, there was one man whose words would outlive empires. His name was Sima Qian, a historian, a scholar, and a man who paid the ultimate price for truth. His masterpiece, the Shiji, Records of the Grand Historian, became the foundation of Chinese historical writing, shaping how history was recorded for over 2,000 years. But behind this great work was a story of sacrifice, suffering, and defiance. The birth of a historian. Sima Qian was born around 145 BCE, during the Han Dynasty, into a family of historians. His father, Sima Qian, was the Grand Historian of the Imperial Court, a prestigious position responsible for recording the history of the empire. From a young age, Sima Qian was destined for scholarship. He traveled across China, visiting ancient ruins, reading lost manuscripts, and speaking to elders who carry the oral traditions of forgotten times. His father trained him to continue the family legacy, but fate had greater challenges in store. A duty left unfinished. In 110 BCE, Sima Qian fell gravely ill. On his deathbed, he looked at his son and gave him one final mission. Continue my work. Write the history of China, from the Yellow Emperor to our time. Do not let it be lost. With tears in his eyes, Sima Qian vowed to fulfill his father's dying wish. Soon after, he was appointed Grand Historian, inheriting his father's position in the Han court. But then, tragedy struck. The emperor's wrath and the ultimate betrayal. At the height of his career, Sima Qian made a fateful mistake. He defended a fallen general. The general, Li Ling, had been captured by enemy forces. The court was furious, calling him a traitor. But Sima Qian spoke out, arguing that Li Ling was a skilled warrior and did not deserve such condemnation. Emperor Wu of Han was enraged. To speak against the emperor's judgment was treason. Sima Qian was thrown into prison, awaiting execution. He was given a choice: die with honor or live in shame. The only way to survive was through the most humiliating punishment: castration. For a nobleman in ancient China, this was worse than death. But Sima Qian had unfinished work. He swallowed his pride, bore the shame, and chose to live, so he could complete his father's legacy. The creation of Shiji. Stripped of his honor, shunned by the court, and burdened by humiliation, Sima Qian turned to his writing. 4 years, he toiled in secrecy, compiling history from dynasties long forgotten, recording the lives of emperors and commoners, warriors and scholars, visionaries and villains. His work was revolutionary. It was the first Chinese history book that was not just about kings and battles, but about people. He introduced biographies, capturing the struggles of individuals, from generals to peasants. He included philosophy, weaving the teachings of Confucianism, Taoism, and legalism into historical events. His writing was not dry records, but stories filled with emotion, conflict, and humanity. Despite his suffering, he created a masterpiece. The Shiji, Records of the Grand Historian. A 500,000-word epic, covering over 2,000 years of Chinese history. But Sima Qian would never live to see its impact. A legacy that defied time. Sima Qian died in obscurity. His work was not immediately celebrated. Yet, as the centuries passed, scholars discovered his writings, realizing their brilliance. His style became the standard for Chinese historiography, inspiring later historians like Ban Gu and the authors of the Ziji Tongjian. His legacy lived on, shaping how China and the world would record history. And so, the man who was humiliated and cast aside by his own emperor became the father of Chinese history. His sacrifice ensured that truth would not be forgotten. Today, his words remain, etched in ink, immortal as the dynasties he recorded. Closing thoughts. The story of Sima Qian is not just about history. It is about honor, resilience, and the power of the written word. He suffered, but through his suffering, he ensured that history would never be erased. And in the end, the emperor who punished him faded into the past, while the words of the grand historian lived on forever. If you like this channel, please like and share and subscribe. Thank you. The Journey of Xuanzang. The monk who traveled to the west. In the heart of the Tang Dynasty, one man embarked on a journey that would change the course of history. His name was Xuanzang, a Buddhist monk driven by an unshakable desire to seek the true teachings of Buddhism, hidden far beyond the borders of China. His journey was long, perilous, and filled with trials. He crossed deadly deserts, towering mountains, and war-torn lands, recording everything he saw in his travel journals. His writings not only brought back sacred scriptures but also gave us a glimpse into a world long lost. This is the story of Xuanzang's journey to the West, a tale of faith, courage, and the search for enlightenment. The call to adventure. Xuanzang was born in 602 CE, during the golden age of the Tang Dynasty. From a young age, he was drawn to Buddhism, but he became troubled by contradictions in Buddhist teachings across China. He believed that the true scriptures, the original words of the Buddha, lay far to the west, in India, the land where Buddhism began. But there was one problem. The Tang Emperor had banned foreign travel. The journey to India was long and filled with danger. Bandits, deadly terrain, and warring kingdoms. Yet Xuanzang was undeterred. He made a decision that would change history. He would go to India, with or without permission. The perilous journey begins. Under the cover of darkness, Xuanzang slipped past China's borders in 627 CE, traveling westward through the Gobi Desert, a vast and merciless wasteland. The sun scorched the earth. Water was scarce. Death was certain for the unprepared. But Xuanzang was determined. He relied on his faith, chanting Buddhist scriptures as he walked. 4 days, he wandered, surviving only on the little water he had. Just as he was about to collapse, an oasis appeared. A sign, he believed, that the heavens were guiding him. After crossing the desert, he reached the kingdom of Gaochang, where the local king was so impressed by his devotion that he provided him with supplies and protection. From there, Xuanzang continued through Central Asia, visiting Samarkand, Bactria, and the snow-covered peaks of the Hindu Kush Mountains. Reaching the Holy Land. After 3 years of travel, Xuanzang finally set foot in India, the heart of Buddhism. He spent years studying at Nalanda University, the greatest Buddhist center of learning at the time. There, he met legendary scholars, debated philosophy, and collected over 600 sacred texts. But Xuanzang knew his mission was not complete. He had to return to China and share the true teachings. The triumphant return. After 17 years and 16,000 kilometers, Xuanzang returned to China in 645 CE, carrying Buddhist scriptures, relics, and knowledge never before seen in his homeland. He was welcomed as a hero. The Tang Emperor lifted the travel ban and supported his work. Xuanzang spent the rest of his life translating over 1,300 Buddhist texts, shaping Chinese Buddhism for centuries to come. His detailed travel journal, The Great Tang Records on the Western Regions, became one of the most important historical texts, describing cultures, geography, and religions across Asia. The legend lives on. Centuries later, Xuanzang's incredible journey inspired one of China's greatest literary masterpieces, Journey to the West. In this legendary novel, he was reimagined as Tang Sanzang, traveling with the mischievous Monkey King, Sun Wukong, facing demons and gods on his quest for enlightenment. But behind the fantasy lies the true story of a man who defied an empire, risked everything for knowledge, and changed history forever. Xuanzang was not just a monk. He was a traveler, a historian, a seeker of truth.